Kevin Durant. Y'all know who I am.
When your first round needs a little kick, accept no substitutes. Clinton Yates, Tim Calishaw, Bill Plaschke, and Woody Page. I don't want a first take. I want the whole thing. Ah, hell.
Y'all know who I am. I'm Cheddar Bill.
Kiddos. Woody got the memo.
Sixers and Nets, Game 3. We're going to start right there. Oh, boy. I mean, there's bulletin board material. Can you put laughter on a bulletin board? Karis LeVert, quote, "We didn't really like that. We thought he was kind of disrespectful," end quote. Jared Dudley, still in the league. Quote, "Just because it's your personality doesn't mean it's right. So for us, you can either get even however you want to do it," end quote. Tim Calishaw with those frosted tips and goatee. You're the most Brooklyn guy we have on this show right now. What do you expect from tonight's game? You think Embiid laughing will wind up hurting the Sixers?
Oh, I think so. I think it could tonight anyway. Maybe not for the series, but I do think we have a game tonight. I like the fact that other Nets, including Dudley, they all kind of said, we know that's who Embiid is, that's his personality. But that doesn't mean they have to like it. That doesn't mean it wasn't disrespectful. Dudley didn't play in Game 2. He's a good defender. There will be some physical play with Joel Embiid tonight regardless. But the bigger thing for me is that the Nets scored 121 points a game against the Sixers in the 4 games this year when they split. They will score. They will get their threes. D'Angelo Russell will play better tonight than he did in Game 2. They'll have that Brooklyn home crowd, whatever the value of that is. And you know, I think the Sixers.
What are you saying there? I thought Brooklyn showed up well in Philadelphia the first 2 games. And how dare you, Tim Calishaw? I just set you up as our Brooklyn correspondent. Clinton Yates, talk to me about the quotes I just read about the Nets talking about Embiid laughing.
I think it's perfectly fair for the Nets to take this stance for one reason. It doesn't even make sense to disrespect the Nets. What Tim was talking about, the 121 points a game they gave up, was the most they gave up to any team they played 4 times. Brooklyn outscored the Sixers on the year as they split the series. It doesn't really add up that you're suddenly going to be disrespecting your team because you got away with the call and you decided you wanted to laugh after the game ended. I think for Embiid and for the Sixers overall, this has moved from childish to embarrassing to unprofessional. And that's where I think a lot of this comes into play for not just fans, but other players in the league. They're like, hey, man, you can't just be throwing bows and laughing about it. That's just not what we do. And I think he got called out for the right
Good
reason.
stats from Clinton Yates, and he did it while holding onto a pencil. Woody Page, how about you? Do you think the laughter will wind up hurting the Sixers here?
No more than the laughter I have after what Clinton just said. It has no effect whatsoever on the game tonight. As you talked about, Clinton, what has more effect is how effective they've been against the 76ers during the regular season and during those first 2 games. So why are you worried about a little moment during a press conference? That is not going to come into effect whatsoever. You're not going to see people get even. Yes, they're going to play physical, but that has nothing to do with what was said. I think the Nets got to be concentrating on how they play. That they came out in the first game. They're the ones who've actually motivated the 76ers by winning there. You'd have to be worried more about that. The Philadelphia is concerned about, we're going back to their place, and they played well against us there. I just think the laughter, it just drowns in sorrow.
Wow, that was poetic. Thank you, Woody Page. Bill Plaschke, how about you?
Woody, you're totally wrong because you got to look at the guy who's talking trash for the Nets, Jared Dudley. He's the conscience of the locker room. He's the voice of reason. I've covered him before. He has been in this league. As long as he's been in this league, he's the guy who keeps everything calm. And he's the one saying they got to get even. I think the Nets, and in order for the Nets to get even, they're going to have to get physical. 62 points in the paint for the 76ers in the last game, the most they've scored in the last 20 postseasons. They've got to clog the paint, stop them up in the paint, make them shoot 3-pointers, and they'll do that. And this all requires effort and inspiration, and I think they've gotten that from the laughter. So I think the laughter is actually huge here, and I think the Nets win the game.
So clog the paint, and that's the way the Nets win the game. Calishaw, what do you need to see tonight for Brooklyn to take this game?
Oh, I think Brooklyn will take this game. I think they will have a lot of energy. I think they'll have a lot more offense. They'll hit the threes. They're very hard to defend, and as good as Sixers are at defending the 3, I don't think they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I think D'Lo's got to go crazy just as he's done. But Woody, a small moment. It was the biggest swing momentum-wise in the entire thing. Embiid could have gone out of the game, and they had the huge quarter, and people were already saying, "How did you lose the first one?" It was not a small moment.
And Woody Page.
Yes, the home crowd's going to make a difference. You got to remember, Brooklyn hasn't had a home playoff game, in 4 years? So I think that's going to make a difference much more than laughter and joking around. I think that also if Russell comes back to the way he's been playing prior to the last couple of games, I think that's going to make a difference in the game.
So I've got 4 taking Brooklyn in this game? 4?
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. All right. I'll call you 3 times if Brooklyn doesn't win. How about that, Yates? We'll move on. Next up, Kevin Durant and the path to self-realization.
When I get the ball in my spots, I got to test Patrick Beverly, who was up underneath me. Well, I could definitely shoot over top and score every time if it's a one-on-one situation. I'm not going to get in the way of the game because, I want to have a little back and forth with Patrick Beverly. I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am. Y'all know who I am.
There you go. Bill Plaschke needs to be said. That was some grade A+ basketball tactic talk. And then, you know who I am, which we haven't heard from Kevin Durant. How did you hear it?
KD, we know who you are. Do you know who you are? That's what he sounds like. It sounds like Patrick Beverly's in his head. It's like he's trying to convince himself. He has to realize Pat Bev went out of the game with 4:49 left. He wasn't even on the floor when the Clippers made the biggest part of their comeback. And yet he got into Durant's head throughout the game, only taking 8 shots. I think the story of this is, again, he's distracted, and that's good for the Clippers.
Tim Kalishow, is that how you heard it?
No, I'm gonna give Kevin Durant credit here for explaining in detail exactly how they're running defenders at him and pointing out that when they had a 30-point lead, he had taken 5 shots. Nobody was saying, hey, Kevin Durant needs to have 15 shots. It's the middle of the third quarter. Kevin Durant doesn't always take a lot of field goal attempts because when he's playing well, he'll get about 12 free throws. He needs to shoot more than 8 times, but he's telling you why that didn't happen.
Yates?
This just seems to be an odd tactic to me from Durant. He's in denial about what happened with Patrick Beverly, a 5-star general in the Hands community. We saw all the pictures. It obviously affected the game. You don't have to act like Patrick Beverly doesn't exist because you're mad about what happened in the actual results. The results of what happened already are there. They were not supposed to lose that game, and they did. Patrick Beverly has already done his job.
But answer me this, Clinton. How do you hear, I'm Kevin Durant, you know who I am, from Durant there?
I hear that, frankly, as a little bit arrogant, considering Patrick Beverly is a respected veteran.
Wait, but put Beverly to the side here, all right? Because we talk so much about what's in between the ears of Kevin Durant and whether he's got rabbit ears and whether he thinks people are giving him enough credit for the player that he is, all right? Because that's the backstory to all this. How do you hear him saying and announcing with authority, I'm Kevin Durant?
He's a 2-time Finals MVP. That's what he's got to say in order for himself to believe that he can get back to the level he needs to.
And Woody Page?
Well, I think it's a situation, as Freud once said, your ego follows your id into wherever it wants to go. And I think that's exactly what happened here, that we don't need him diagramming plays. We don't need him talking about Beverly. We need him talking about the fact that he was ejected from the first game. He fouled out of the second game. Is he actually going to play a full game in the next one? I mean, really? And he wants to talk about what a pest is doing to him? He shouldn't even bring up Beverly. He shouldn't be talking about how they're stopping him. He should be talking about, here's what I need to do. But yet, once again, I think he's being affected by his id, and his id is taking over his mind.
Who knew we would be getting Freud from Woody Page? Bravo, Woody Page. If it's not one thing, it's your mother. Last word, Bill Plaschke.
Yeah, I mean, the one Achilles heel of Kevin Durant has always been his insecurity, and Patrick Beverly has played on his insecurity. And
so you don't believe, though, him saying, I'm Kevin Durant is on the path, and that's what I said before, on the path to self-realization, because if you're going to diagnose it from afar, it's still possible Kevin Durant's viewing himself as other people view him and not how he views himself. But is this at least a step in a direction when Durant is actually acknowledging, I'm one of the best players in the game, I'm going to get more than 8 shots a game, and we're going to go from there? You don't think so, Bill?
We know that already. I think,
but we didn't see that in Game 1 and Game 2.
Why is he telling us that?
We didn't see. Does anybody think the Clippers are going to pull off an upset tonight? They're playing at home. It's possible. No? No.
Good game.
Yeah, yes, I'm calling it. I'm calling it. Yes, I think they will.
All right. Well, if Bill Plaschke's calling it, then that's all I needed to know. We'll move on. Meanwhile, while this is all happening, Rockets and Bucks romping through the first round like White Walkers through the North. Both teams up 2-0. Both teams margins of 50+. Both teams with MVP candidates doing MVP things. Clinton, who's impressed you most so far?
It's the Bucks by a mile. Let's not forget what happened throughout the course of this season. Everybody got on board the Giannis train. Everybody wanted to believe in the Bucks. They had injuries that affected them throughout the season that really made a lot of people think this might be done, and it was fair. When Malcolm Brogdon goes out, when Mirotic goes down, you're thinking, man, this team was young and up and coming. Mike Budenholzer's done a great job. We knew what the Rockets were. The Arugulas were good last year. This is just what they do. The Bucks, however, are emerging, and that's what's cool about it.
Where are we on arugulas for the last points up or points down for Clinton Yates calling the Rockets arugulas? What are we going to say? Okay.
Get a passport.
Okay.
Come on,
Get a
y'all.
passport.
No idea what he's talking about.
Woody Page. More about the Bucks or Rockets?
I'm diametrically opposed to what Clinton said. It's all about the Rockets. First of all, let's address the Pistons. Do they belong in the playoffs? No, they should be in the top 5 in the draft is where they should be. They're not here. So really, what the Bucks are doing against the Pistons, I think the 5 of us could do against the Pistons. It's the Rockets. Ricky Rubio, he can't do anything against Harden. Harden is just working him like a rented mule. You got the backups really helping. I mean, Farida's come in there and doing a nice, serviceable job during the playoffs. I just think it's all about the Rockets. This looks like a better team than last year.
Defensively, especially, right? Bill Plaschke, where are you on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Clinton, I agree with Woody on this. You said the Bucks by a mile. It's the Rockets by 2 or 3 miles. Because the Jazz, remember, the Jazz are a pretty good team. The Jazz won a playoff series before. And yet they're being held to 39% shooting. Donovan Mitchell's 32% shooting. With Capella healthy, with Paul healthy, with Harden playing all over the court. No, the Rockets by a mile, by 2 miles.
Tim Kalishaw.
Yeah, I think the quality of the opponent matters a lot here. I'd go with Houston. I thought Quinn Snyder would make a lot of adjustments after game 1, and then it's, Rockets by 26 at halftime last night. The Bucks were down a point at halftime. Not that they were ever going to lose, but it took them a while to get going last night, not Houston.
All right, Yates, you get the last word.
Utah won a playoff series last year and then ran into who? The Rockets and got smoked 4-1. Come on now, this is not a surprise.
No Blake Griffin. Where was Blake Griffin last night, Clinton?
Good question. I'll tell you where Blake Griffin is. Blake Griffin,
We know where he is.
he's picking up technical fouls at the wazoo in a series he's not even playing in. Do the Pistons have to take Blake Griffin off the bench? This is a ridiculous thing. Think about that as we go to break. Buy or sell is next.